You mentioned the downtown and kind of the parklet issue, and I want to say one of our downtown visionaries, Brian Hirahara, as often talks about kind of the European flavor that he likes here in Walnut Creek, and we certainly have that, and his businesses have reflected that. But that gets us to this parklet issue that people just love. They really do. This is that kind of European flavor. But a little bit of a concern all of a sudden now as people are hearing, we're going to have to make them more permanent. There's potentially going to be a higher cost, and that may discourage some people. So tell the audience a little bit about what that new plan is and the issues related to revenue and all with parklets.
Well, the city and the city council are firmly committed to seeing outdoor dining continue on a permanent basis in Walnut Creek. We've had several meetings on that topic over the past few months, and we'll continue to have discussions going forward. You know, key policy issues that we've discussed are safety and aesthetics and impacts on non-restaurant businesses. So on the safety front, we want to make sure that diners are safe from the traveling public and cars nearby, and so want to see that going forward, that kind of the outdoor dining is on a raised platform above the surface level of the street and protected with some sort of concrete barrier. On the aesthetics front, I'm proud that we acted quickly to allow restaurants to engage in outdoor dining. It was a lifeblood for many of them, as I think they'll acknowledge. Going forward and seeing this on a permanent basis, we'd like to see a little bit more uniform look and feel to some of the outdoor structures we see downtown. So it looks like it's not as temporary, that it is a more permanent feature and function of the downtown, and that it blends in a little more seamlessly with our downtown streetscapes. And then another issue, a learning lesson we had from the temporary program, the rebound program, was how do we achieve the right balance between restaurants and retailers that are often located side by side. And I think the council has determined that the right balance is to make sure that any outdoor dining going forward is really confined to the restaurant space and doesn't bleed over in front of and take up potentially parking spaces in front of a neighboring retailer. On the cost front, that is true. For the past 2+ years, the rebound program and outdoor dining has been provided on a free basis. It was about 150 parking spaces at one time. I think we're down to about 100 spaces now. And just as a point of comparison, there are 10,000 parking spaces, public and private, downtown. So 100 of those are currently being used for outdoor dining. And that's obviously a public space that's being used for a private purpose. And so we want to make sure that we're being fair and equitable on that, and also making sure that the city is being made whole. On average, pre-COVID, each parking space would generate about $7,000 a year. Wow. For the city. Wow.
That's amazing, each one. Well, when you go back and look at the kind of the hit to the budget when we were thinking of, I was thinking of the purple poles and all, but during a period of time, there was no collection of parking meter revenue for some significant period of time. And then we think of the parking meters that are blocked because of parklets. What kind of a hit did the city take? Can you give us an estimate over that time?
I don't have a specific figure, but I would estimate that it's in the range of between $500,000 to $1 million a year.
Not insignificant then.
No.
So with respect to the parklets, though, we also have some streets that are partially blocked off. So we think of Bonanza Street, and people love to go down to those restaurants and all along there. And how is the new plan? What's the vision for, or is there a vision for keeping some of those streets partially blocked?
Well, there is, and we had a conversation kind of stepping back in terms of, we gave feedback on kind of the security measures and the look and feel of the outdoor structures to staff, and those design guidelines are being developed right now. But we asked ourselves, did we want to close any streets to through traffic? Did we want to make streets one way? And the council decided that not right now. that we like the way the traffic circulation flow is going through downtown. We've demonstrated through the Rebound program that you could successfully have outdoor dining and cars traveling up and down Main Street and Locust Street without a huge impact to either, that it's worked pretty seamlessly. On Bonanza Street, that's one area where we've decided to kick the ball a little bit down the road and revisit that issue because it didn't seem like a pressing front burner item that we had to decide right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, there are so many questions, and people have, I'm going to mention at the end how we can still engage with some of those questions, even though we won't be able to get to them today. But I do want to talk about climate. That's a big issue with the city and with the citizens in many questions. And I know we have, I think, a task force or something, but tell me a little bit about how the city is dealing with the issues of climate and the future issues that they're thinking of.
Yeah, climate change and sustainability is another one of the council's 5 top priorities and has been now for a few years, and we are actively engaged in updating the city's climate action plan and updating it to meet the state's 2030 greenhouse gas reduction goals and beyond. The city is firmly committed to seeing that process through. We've had some gaps in our staffing at the Community and Economic Development Department, and unfortunately the climate plan has been delayed a bit as a result of that, but all of the council members firmly want to see that continue through and finished quickly, because it's important that we get that online, that the businesses and the city is demonstrating how we're participating and helping to achieve the state's greenhouse gas reduction goals. And I'll just point out that, we as a city are trying to lead by example on this. All of our buildings, all the city facilities are powered by 100% renewable energy sources. We've added electric vehicle chargers to city garages and public parking spaces, and are making concerted efforts to try and conserve water wherever we can and use energy as efficiently as we can in our businesses. So I think all of those principles will be reflected in this plan, and it'll likely be back to the City Council sometime this summer.
Mm-hmm. We're getting right down to the end. I do want to ask one last category that lots of people have asked about, and that is water. And we all know, gosh, a day or so ago we got a little drenching, and everyone was pretty happy, but it actually didn't touch anything to do with this severe drought that we're in. How's the city, what's the city's plan, and how are we dealing with the water issues?
The city is taking proactive steps to try and meet the state's goal of reducing water usage by 15%. Being a native Californian, I think we're used to droughts. What we're seeing over the past 10, 20 years is more significant than I've seen in my lifetime, and I think it's tied to what's happening with the larger climate. So it may essentially be our new normal, and that we're going to need to kind of do things differently, both as a city and as residents, in terms of our water usage going forward. From a city standpoint, what we're doing is kind of looking at a lot of our grass fields, converting those to drought-tolerant turf is a big help, and how they're irrigated, changing out broken sprinkler heads, and also kind of having high technology irrigation that kind of knows when they're getting a little bit of rain and they don't need to turn on to water the large fields that we have in the city. So items like that, and whatever we can do to try to conserve water and use it wisely, the city is absolutely committed to doing.
I want to thank you. I have, we could talk for a couple of days, you and I, about these things, having this fun discussion, but we are out of time. So I want to thank you very much for answering our questions and having this discussion about a number of issues that are important to not only our businesses and certainly the chamber, but all of the citizens. I do want to say that the questions, as I mentioned before, that have come in, we'll compile them. We'll provide them to you. I'll certainly read them, and I think they're important because they're issues that you, as the mayor of Walnut Creek, or going to want to know about, and I couldn't ask all of them. I do want to thank Bob Linscheid, our president and CEO, and certainly Margot Stanford and her role and her company, F&M Bank, for this. And I want to thank all the people for attending. I think it's very important. You can go on YouTube and actually see the balance of your presentation. I understand there was a little quirk, so we're apologizing for a number of technical difficulties that happened today. Nobody's fault, and we'll offer the full video of your presentation, which I've seen and is wonderful. I saw it earlier, at least most of it, and Walnut Creek TV later today. So thank you, everyone, for your patience, and thank you for your patience, and we're going to adjourn.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet.